All right, MMA Today for tomorrow. Today, I got some new faces. Not new faces, but new faces to, the MMA Today for tomorrow's show. We got Kyle, the man of Steele from Loudmouth MMA.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, that's a good name. I like your last name, man.
Listen, and my son is named Henry, which a lot of times people call people named Henry Hank. So people call him Hank, man. Hank Steele is a hell of a name.
Yeah, man, that's like straight. I don't want to say it, but that sounds like a poor name a little bit.
It does. Hank Steele.
Are you drinking a Steel Reserve also? That's what it looks like.
I am not. I'm drinking a Coors Light. I'm drinking a Coors Light.
Okay. That would have been perfect.
I see that I've never met you. I see that your name is Drake, but Drake, just let you know I'm not man enough to drink a Steel Reserve.
All right.
Also joining us is Drake Riggs, aka Lethal Weapon. I don't know why I want to call you Lethal Weapon. If you come on the show, I give everybody a nickname. We got Man of Steel. Man. We got Mr. Lethal Weapon. I don't know, maybe because your name is Riggs.
Briggs.
I'll take
That's
it.
what I'm thinking.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So Lethal Weapon's a cool name. I don't know. It's all right, right?
It works.
Yeah. So whenever you come on the show, I'm gonna give you a nickname if I can think of one right off the bat. So
Right off the cuff.
exactly.
Sounds good.
Now today, like before we get into UFC 222, today the big news was Jon Jones. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit and pick your guys' brain on what exactly happened and what might happen in the future with Mr. Jones. So let's start with you, Mr. Steele. What do you think is going to happen with Jon Jones?
Oh, I think he'll be out for probably, my guess is about from today. From today, my guess is probably about 18 months. I think you'll probably see him back in 18 months. Basically what happened, first of all, it was such an odd defense. I mean, I knew it was going to be tough. My background is actually, I'm a paralegal. So when I was watching the committee today, I was really interested. I was watching it super closely. And I was like, I don't know what exactly their argument's going to be. And honestly, their argument was exactly what I thought it was, which was, imagine if this is an actual court and someone walks into court and says, I know you guys found my DNA, but I don't know how my DNA got there. And you're imagining that the judge is going to go, oh shit, you don't know how it got there? And they're like, no, I don't know. The judge is like, well, damn, I'm not guilty, I guess. I don't know. It's just, it's a bizarre angle to take. I mean, and they spent, probably 25 minutes talking about how careful they were about not having a tainted supplement. But all the supplements had been tested and none of them were tainted. So that 20 minutes of information was unnecessary because you being careful to not take a tainted supplement, well, it paid off. You didn't have a tainted supplement, so congratulations. You popped hot for Turnbull, though, so I don't know what we're supposed to do with that information. And then the witness, so you had the one guy that was basically a prosecutor's witness who just dealt with the USADA test itself, and then they brought another guy up. Last name was Scott, I think, or maybe first name was Scott. I don't remember. One of the worst expert witnesses I think I've ever been exposed to, and I've been to countless trials. I mean, one of the worst expert witnesses I've ever seen. Just incredible. The fact that he was up there and somebody was paying him. He answered the question at one point what he was being paid. I think he said like $300 an hour or something. I mean, it's holy shit. That guy was a nightmare. He was a nightmare. And it just set a weird tone. And then when Jon Jones came up at the very end, he was incredibly unprepared. If I were in Jon Jones's position, when you gave me the microphone at the very end, I would have pulled out a binder and I would have just read a binder's worth of prepared statements and made it to where nobody could ask me any questions because I've just taken up so much time and then now we're done, right? And let's just move on to the sentencing. Instead, he sits down in front of the microphone and he goes, well, I don't really know where to start, so I guess you guys ask me some questions. You don't know where to start? Did you not know you were coming to this? This has been I knew about it weeks ago. How did you not know about it weeks ago? So I know I just talked for a long time, but it just, the whole thing was bizarre. And then the one woman gets up and just starts, she scores a 10-8 round on Jon. I mean, she grilled him. And deservingly so, because he wasn't giving any answers, and he would sort of half give an answer. And let's not forget, this isn't a court of law. You know, the questions that she were asking, if this were a court, she wouldn't be able to ask. You can't ask all these unrelated stuff about getting in DUI accidents. It's meaningless to what's here. So court wouldn't allow it. But it's not a court. It's a committee, and all that shit is fair game. And it shows a pattern of you make very poor decisions. So, which is kind of what the guy in the middle, I don't remember anybody's names, but the guy in the middle, that was kind of his point, was you obviously don't make good decisions. And then obviously the last, but certainly not least, admitting that he did not take those USADA tests and saying that his management forged his signature is just bonkers. What an insane thing to admit. And it's like, you could come clean about that, but you couldn't. But you couldn't take the test in the. I don't know. It's bizarre. Like you have enough like intestinal fortitude to admit that you didn't take the test, but you don't have 10 fucking minutes to just take the test in the first place. It just seems like, why are you making stuff harder on yourself? All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. I talked for a long time.
Drake, what do you think? Do you think the cocaine has fried Jon Jones's brain and his fight IQ is going along with that? So what's going on?
He can't stay off it, man. I don't know. He's hooked. Obviously, right?
What do you see? What do you see him like moving on? You know, like USADA is going to decide the punishment, and Kyle was saying he believes it's going to be another 18 months. Do you believe that they're going to punish him for that long?
Honestly, I've just been trusting like everything our man Dim Space has been saying, because he knows way better than I do. So I'll trust him and say like around 3 years, at least 18 sounds good to me. Kyle summed it up really good. Yeah, it's just a crazy sequence of everything that he's been involved with.
I'm going to go against you guys, though. I'm going to go against you guys.
I will say that 18 months would be 2.5 years. So I'm basically saying that USADA gives them 2 years. I don't think they're giving them 4. I think USADA gives them 2 years. And then, of course, you count from when the fight happened. So that would be, you basically do a year. And then I'm also accounting for about 4 to 6 months of getting reinstated, because he has to serve the USADA suspension before he can then reapply for his California credentials. Technically, he is only but he's only lost his license in the state of California. It's not a federal or national license. It's just the state of California. Now, all the other commissions are going to follow suit, obviously, but they don't have to. They don't have to. If one of these commissions wants to make a money grab, listen, if Conor McGregor can fight Floyd Mayweather, as an 0-0 boxer, anything is possible for these commissions. They can approve anything they want if it's a money grab. So, listen, if USADA decided to not really do something and make it 1 year, right? If they made it 1 year tomorrow, time's up, baby. It's already been a year, just about. So he could theoretically fight in Vegas. Right? Who knows? I don't think that's what's going to happen, but it very well could.
Whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Sure, dude. Vegas.
My opinion is that they're going to give him, USADA's going to give him a year, and he's going to fight this year. And on the 4th of July against Brock Lesnar, it's going to happen.
That's not happening.
I know, but I'm just saying.
That's not happening. I think 18 months is probably generous. I mean, there's a very real possibility. I mean, and this isn't. I mean, when I say very real possibility, I mean seriously, a very, very real possibility. You don't see him for 4 years. I mean, that's not crazy. I don't think that's what will happen, but man, like that could very well happen here. And how crazy to take an athletic specimen like that and just remove him from fighting in the prime of his athletic career and then plop him back in when he's 32. You know, and listen, you could still do a lot of damage from 32 to 39, 32 to 40, especially at heavyweight. But still, I mean, good Lord, imagine the stuff he could have done. I mean, just it's such a wasted talent here.
Yeah, I believe that Jon Jones, if they do put him out for another 5 years, man, it will in a way it will create such a void in two divisions, like the light heavyweight division and the heavyweight division, especially with DC moving up and challenging for the title. And a lot of people believe that he will win the title. He will beat Stipe. A lot of people believe this, right? And there's a big possibility. And I would love for Jon to come back. This will be the perfect scenario. DC goes up, wins the title. Jon chases DC to the heavyweight title.
Right.
That's what the UFC wants, right?
Sure.
Think about it.
I don't think DC will be around long enough to make that happen, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think that's the scenario. If like if you're sitting at the offices in Las Vegas, they want certain things to happen. It might not happen, but they want certain things to happen. And I'm a big Stipe Miocic fan. I think Stipe. They should be promoting Stipe more, you know what I mean, to promote that division. But what do I know? I'm not an executive at the.
He's the ultimate underdog, man. He's the ultimate underdog.
Well,
everyone counts him out.
Yeah, for real. Now let's go to UFC 222. 222. That sounds like a cursed card for some reason. I don't know why.
Your mouth to God's ears, man. You better watch out.
Cyborg versus Kuniskaya, very if you've been following, I know Drake knows about these two in very deep detail. Kuniskaya comes from Invicta. Cyborg also coming from Invicta. Cyborg's been around much longer. But before we get to the main event, let's talk about some other, women's MMA matchups in this one, because there's some intriguing matchups, right? Drake? Yeah. Let's start with the first one with Mackenzie Dern making her UFC debut against Ashley Yoder. Now, break down Dern. Like, should we hop on the hype train?
Oh, man, it's tough. I mean, she's getting there. She's improving with every fight. Like, obviously, striking specifically, it's improving, but not very fast. She's still super wild and just kind of all over the place. But, I mean, it's slowly, like, inch by inch every fight. And her jiu-jitsu is obviously crazy good. She hasn't been finishing with it. Well, she finished her fight before her last fight after she actually knocked her opponent down. So, I mean, she's getting there, but I don't know. I think that Ashley's going to play a spoiler in this one just because she's real tenacious. And I don't know. It's a tough matchup for Dern, I think. And I'm not ready to jump on the hype just yet, but she definitely has the potential to get there.
Do you guys know the line on this one? Is Mackenzie Dern favored in this fight?
I'm pretty sure
she has to be. I mean, in my mind, I would say, I would give Ashley Yoder a 1% chance. That's probably, and I'm probably being generous. I mean, if you go through her record, she has won every single fight except for one by arm lock. Every single fight except for one by arm lock. If there was a person on planet Earth who she is not going to arm lock, it's Mackenzie Dern. Right? I mean, seriously, like if you look at strawweight 115, name one person who's not going to get arm locked by Ashley Yoder. It's Mackenzie Dern, right? I mean, there's just no way. If she won fights by ground and pound, if she won fights by kind of wonky decisions, then I would give her more of a chance. But if you're winning every single fight except for one by arm lock, you're screwed because it's not going to happen here. And what's going to happen is she's going to get in there. She's going to get touched up for a second. And she's going to game plan. She's going to game plan. Don't go to the ground. Don't go to the ground. Or if I do go to the ground, go to this position, go to that position. She's going to game plan for it. As soon as the cage door closes, as soon as, let's get it on, and she gets hit one time or she gets taken down a little bit, whatever it is, all of a sudden instincts are going to kick in. And she's going to start going for the stuff that got her wins in the past. And as soon as she does that, she's getting taken out. I mean, for me, that's probably the easiest fight on the card. I'm just not going to overthink it. It's just, it's right there. I'm not overthinking it.
So we got we got contrasting points of view on this matchup. I'm going to have to roll with Kyle, man. And I think Mackenzie's going to go in there. I have faith in her and do the same exact thing that she's been doing. Is go in there because she seems to have a lot of power. She can generate power in her strikes. Drake, you're right. She is wild, but I think being wild, being that awkwardly wild style, it actually helps her.
With her jiu-jitsu
and especially a fighter like Ashley Yoder that doesn't want to go to the ground with her. So she's not gonna really attempt any takedowns. So maybe Mackenzie will go in there, wildly connect with one of those hard shots. Rock Yoder, and then take her neck. I can see the neck, being exposed, and then she's going to get the rear naked choke, and we're going to see a little bit of a Brazilian booty dance afterwards, hopefully. I'm hoping, cross my fingers.
I think the thing with Mackenzie is that people are going to want to pick against her because she's overhyped, and she is. And people are going to want to pick against her because they're like, man, she has all this hype behind her. She's so untechnical. She's got no stand-up, right? It's the Hoist argument all over again, right? I mean, and people are going to want to pick against her because of that. But what you have to remember is that, again, and I did not coin this phrase. I love saying it a lot, and people make fun of me, but styles make fights. And this is a horrible stylistic matchup for Ashley Yoder. And this is a fantastic stylistic matchup for Mackenzie Dern. I think the next fight, assuming it's at flyweight, I think she probably can take out most people, but she's going to run into a brick wall in the UFC if she doesn't tighten up, if she doesn't clean herself up, if she doesn't hone in, especially with the punching. You can't be one-dimensional, right? Once you start getting into these upper fighters, she's never fought anybody like anybody that's in the top 10. Even right now at flyweight, and that's not even a full-out division because she's got to go to flyweight. She may not even make 115 here. I know she made 115 her last fight, but good luck keeping that streak going. Because she has a streak going the other direction of never making it. She's made strawweight, I think, one time in her entire career. So one time in 5 fights. So I don't trust that she's even going to make it this time around.
Drake, do you think she's going to make it? Do you think that's the big question mark here is she going to make weight, especially with the UFC's procedure of, having weigh-ins early in the morning?
Yeah, she's actually made it her last 2 fights, so I'm pretty confident that she can do it this time. Seems like she's got – if it was just one, I'd probably be a little less.
The fight before that was at flyweight.
Her last 2 were strawweight, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was her last fight against Medeiros she weighed in at 115.9. Before that, it was Mandy Polk. She weighed in at 124.8. Before that, she missed weight against Catherine Roy, and they fought at a catch weight of 120. And then before that, she missed weight. She came in at 118.8 against Montana De La Rosa, and then she made weight her first fight. So she made weight her first fight and her last fight. So she has made weight twice. Yeah, and then there's a 3-fight gap in between. So we'll see. But I think almost assuredly she's going to go up to 125 at some point.
So I guess during the weigh-ins, like on Friday, Saturday? No, Friday. Everybody's going to be looking for Mackenzie Dern. That's the main person. They're going to be like, where's Mackenzie Dern? There's 2 reasons. 2 reasons. I'm not going to say those reasons.
Exactly.
I'm a person that I never jump on the hype train ever in the beginning. So I'm not going to jump on this hype train, but I do believe that she will probably win this fight. Now, before we get into the main card, because the main card has some legit fights and also has some weird matchups. But when you guys look at the prelims, what fighter? We'll start with you, Drake. What fighter are you looking forward to seeing, other than Mackenzie Dern?
Literally seeing. Pedro Munoz all day for me on that one. He's probably one of the most underrated guys right now. I would say he's finishing everybody he fights pretty much, all by guillotines and whatnot. And just that Dodson matchup is a great one. It's really bummed when it didn't happen the first time, but now we get it here, so that's great.
What about you, Kyle?
Cody Stamann, for sure. I mean, that's been a prospect I've been following, pre-UFC. Huge fan of his. He's gonna have a hard time with Dillashaw. I think right now I'd pick him to beat Cody. I think he'd have a real hard time with Dillashaw, just stylistically. I think that the top is waiting for that guy. And he'll start here. I think he will beat Brian Caraway, and I think he'll beat him pretty easily.
Oh, really? Oh, that's surprising. Caraway is a top, one of the top guys. He hasn't fought in like 50 years or whatever, because
it's been a long time. Yeah. I
was gonna say the rust could be a big deal on that one.
Yeah. I mean, this is the guy who's a renowned wrestler who went in and outstruck Tom Duquesnoy. Outboxed him.
Yeah.
Outboxed Tom Duquesnoy and is a wrestler. So that's a scary dude. 16-1. It's a scary dude.
Side note, the last time I talked to Kyle, he was very big on Rob Font.
And yeah, baby.
Rob Font lost that time, but after that he came back with the vengeance.
He did,
I just wanted to give you credit, Kyle, for being on that hype train.
I love me some Rob Font. And listen, and the guy who beat him has a tough little fight ahead of him. I mean, John Dodson has just been it's weird. It's the whole, I don't know. It's bizarre. He's, I don't know, that 10 pounds really makes a difference. And he has just lost any of his power, it seems like, and slowed down. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of him, but I also don't trust a guy like Pedro Munoz who, I mean, Drake noted, I mean, he wins a lot of these fights by guillotine, which is fantastic. It's really cool and it's flashy. And it's like, man, how is he doing this? But I'm also usually scared away by guys like that, where you can't really explain what's happening. But he's fighting such an undersized guy here. He's gonna have a hard time getting a hold of him. I mean, that's going to be the problem. If you're winning fights that way and you can't get a hold of the guy, it's tough. But at the same time, he is undersized. So it's like you could theoretically take him down and hold him down. I mean, he'd have a hard time getting up. So I don't know. That's a really tough fight. I'm staying away from any type of betting or DraftKings or pick'em. That fight's off limits.
Now, let's move on to the opener of the pay-per-view. Cat Zingano is coming back after, like I said, 50 years on the shelf against the undefeated Brazilian, Caitlin Vieira. Does Caitlin Vieira have a chance? Do you think she has a chance, Drake, against Cat Zingano? Zingano is just like one of the most vicious women's fighters out there. She's up there next to like Cyborg, in my opinion, of viciousness.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I'm going kind of underdogs here, I guess. I think that Caitlin should be favored in this one. I think she's legit. She's proven that she's earned any hype she's had with the Sarah McMahon victory, especially. I didn't see that coming. And she went out there and submitted her. And then Kat's coming back after her layoff, but it doesn't really matter with her because, like you said, she's just so aggressive and nonstop in your face. So if Caitlin wants to win, though, she's definitely going to have to weather that storm, which is going to be at her for 3 rounds nonstop. So I think she's got a good chance if she can just keep it in tight and keep Kat from being able to get any sort of space and do her thing, really. She's just so vicious, like you said. But yeah, I think that Caitlin has a really good chance of winning this fight, and I expect her to, but it's not going to be easy at all.
What about you, Kyle?
So Ketlen Vieira is the favorite here.
Okay.
It's not, she's not the biggest favorite in the world or anything like that, but some books have her as high as a -155. Yeah, looks like the aggregate is about in the 140s. So yeah, she's a decent little favorite. And I see what they're seeing. I mean, you talk about prospects, like someone like Cody Stamann. I don't think that division has seen a wrestler like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to start comparing. I'm not even going to say it, but she is an extremely explosive wrestler with just incredible athleticism, and that division is lacking that. And Kat Zingano, I mean, this is just a new animal. I mean, it's almost like you're back in there with Rousey again, and just being, having such an alpha. I'm not comparing Vieira to Rousey, but I am comparing the idea that Rousey had this alpha in her judo, where it was like her judo was better than anything that Kat Zingano could ever be in, right? That's how it is with her and just being explosive in wrestling. Like, she is better at that one thing than Kat Zingano is in any other area. And I think that's going to come into play here. I think she's going to get, I'm not going to say the term, but wrestle effed. I mean, she's going to get taken down and held down and punched and elbowed. And for as vicious as Zingano is, I think Vieira's right there with her. And if you can't see in the back, the poster is Rousey Zingano right behind me, actually.
Yeah.
But
good timing.
yeah, good timing. But I think I got Ketlen Vieira here, and it looks like the betting public is with us on this.
The underdog is not the underdog. Most people would think like she would be the underdog, but she's not the underdog. And if it was a straight across, I think that if you were gonna pick, it was a pick 'em. Yeah, you would have to go with Vieira. You'd have to go.
I would have assumed that Cody Stamann would be the underdog as well, and he is not. He's also the favorite. So that surprises me. People are seeing it. I mean, people are seeing. And again, Brian Caraway, and there's a good comparison here because Brian Caraway and Kat Zingano are in similar situations, right? They fought in the upper echelons of their division. They're going up against really legit prospects, and they haven't fought in a while, right? It's a lot of parallels between those two fights. And I think in both fights, the younger, hungrier prospect is going to win out.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the next fight is Stefan Struve versus Andrei Arlovsky. It's like the battle of Europe here. I don't even want to really talk about this. To be honest with you, I would just like to get your guys' picks. That's it. Like, who would you pick in this fight?
Pass.
What about you, Drake?
Struve round 2.
Yeah, Struve.
TKO.
Struve by TKO. Yeah, I mean, that is. Yeah. I hate this fight. I can't stand it.
I think this is a crossroads fight for Struve more than it is for Arlovsky.
Sure.
Arlovsky
prove that you still belong. Prove that you still belong here.
Exactly. That's right. Now the next fight is I think it's a pretty exciting fight against a young prospect in Sean O'Malley and another young prospect in Andre Sukumtat, right? Yeah. The hype train is big on O'Malley. Sukumtat has been a lot of people believe that he's been screwed many times in his previous fights. And to me, it's kind of like your fault, okay? You go in there and you don't go for it like you did in your last fight. Because in his last fight, his back was against the fence, right? His back was, he had to do something drastic to win. And he did that. Now I think that he's going to turn the corner, to be honest with you. I think he's going to turn the corner in this fight, and O'Malley being undefeated and having some hype, he's going to be able to use that to kind of propel himself in the division. But O'Malley's a beast. He's like that unorthodox, fighter where you can't really, it's hard to prepare against his style. But what do you guys think? What do you think, Kyle, about, O'Malley?
Yeah, similar. So love both of these guys. Normally, this is the kind of fight that I would also just hate, right? When you got two prospects real early, like Stam and Duke, and I couldn't stand before it happened, and I can't stand it after either. It's just why have that fight, But this one doesn't bother me because Sukumta, I agree. I think he did get screwed in his first two fights. I think he beat Morales, although that one I think was closer than his second one. I mean, I think his second fight, I thought he clearly won. I mean, if I'm remembering it correctly, I thought he clearly won. But the problem is he knocked the guy down. He knocked him down again, knocked him down again. And instead of pouncing and finishing, he just held up three fingers. Well, you have to be more aggressive. Well, then he goes in against Luke Sanders, takes the fight on short notice. Luke Sanders is a world beater, also on a really just bad streak, right? He was beating Alcantara, and he got one again knee barred. It was that same card that had the Darren Elkins come back as well. He's just smashed him 10-8 round, in that first, and then he comes back and loses. And almost similarly with Andre, he's winning on the feet, and all of a sudden he gets cracked. Both of these guys have one-punch power. Both of these guys are fantastic prospects. I just can't wait to watch the fight. My pick, I think I'm going Sukumta as well, which is weird because I don't know. I figured I'd be on Sean O'Malley here, but I really think that Sukumta is going to get it done here. But honestly, I just want to watch the fight. I don't care who wins. Just let's have a fun fight.
Drake, do you think Sukumta can be a top 10 fighter? Do you think he's going to show that he is able to become a top 10 fighter with this fight? Because he's had a few fights already. He knows what he needs to do.
I'm not ready to say that. I'll say top 15 at best right now. But no, I do agree with both you guys. I think he'll win. He's hurt himself really in that Alejandro Perez fight, but he's obviously very skilled. But yeah, I think that they're really they might have O'Malley as the most overhyped guy right now, in my opinion. They're really pushing him, and it kind of shows with the placement of the card, even just the fight right before the co-main event. So they kind of want O'Malley to win, I'm gonna say. But yeah, I think that Sukumta is a very good chance of playing spoiler here.
Yeah.
I agree with both of you guys on everything you said, really.
Do you guys think that training with another guy that's on the same card, because Sukumta has been training extensively with Struve, not like they're sparring or nothing like that, but like they're side by side.
You wouldn't have a Sukumta left. No offense to him.
Yeah,
I think that helps. I mean, you guys are both working toward the same goal on the same day and the same play. You know what I mean? I imagine that helps.
The argument there is that, though they're separating the coaches and who they're focusing on, that's like the only argument there.
Sure. And which is a viable argument.
I don't know. O'Malley, I think he trains out of MMA Lab, right, in Arizona. Is that true?
I think so. Yeah, that's where Lauren Murphy and Vincent Henderson.
Dern's also there.
Yeah, Dern's also there. Yeah, but I don't know, with O'Malley, he's an interesting one. I like his style. I like his look. I like, what he stands for. He's just kind of like a free spirit, and always, I'm always down for the free spirits, right? I'm not really the guy that's like, oh, I'll do whatever the promotion wants me to do type. I don't really like that too much myself. But O'Malley seems like he's gonna kind of go in his own direction, but at the same time, I gotta go with my Asian folks. You know what I mean?
What is he? What is that?
He's Laotian.
Yeah, he is.
He's Laotian. He's the first ever Laotian fighter in the UFC. So
yeah, which is crazy.
That's major for himself. You know what I mean?
It is.
All right, we got the last two fights on UFC 222, the co-main event. But right now, a fourth member has joined us, Dr. King. Dr. King,
from the clouds.
I have given Kyle and Drake nicknames. I always give everybody nicknames. So Kyle is Kyle, the Man of Steel.
Okay.
And Riggs is Lethal Weapon. So if you would like to call them by their nicknames, please do so.
Right. Or you're going to go with Drizzy.
Don't. Yeah.
Or that.
Yeah, let's start with the co-main event. Hey, I love this fight. This fight is awesome fight, you know, like it's hard to choose, right? Because it's like the young guy versus the tough veteran. Basically, Edgar's a legend, right, of the sport. Ortega is trying to be a legend, so it's great story. I don't think a lot of people are, you know, like the casual people are, you know, hyped about this fight because they don't really know. And you know, Edgar's been out for a while. Ortega is kind of a new name. Um, I think that I'm gonna go with Ortega in this fight myself. I believe that Ortega is just on the rise, and Frankie Edgar's kind of plateaued in his life. Even though you know, I'm a big fan of Frankie Edgar, which sucks to say that he's gonna lose. Let's start with you, King, since you're the new addition. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, you know I have to disagree with you if you're gonna do me like that. So I'm leaning with Frankie, man. I've thought about this one quite a bit. T City is a guy that, you know, his submission skills are awesome. They're second to none, you know, in that division, and we saw that in his last fight. I thought, you know, if you look at his resume of work, especially over the last few fights, you know, he was losing with the exception of the Cub Swanson fight. Let me put that on the back burner for a second. You know, most of those fights he was getting beaten in, you know, pretty soundly. The Moicano fight, the Clay Guida fight, Guida was, you know, winning that fight pretty handily before that knee. So I think, you know, that last fight was the first one where we saw Ortega be the aggressor. He went for the takedown. He went for the clinch, which is something that we didn't necessarily see before. It was more, you know, the opponent was falling into going for a crappy takedown or, you know, getting over aggressive and getting caught. So, you know, it depends on what Ortega's game plan is. I don't necessarily think he's going to be able to catch Frankie in a submission, you know, of Frankie's own doing. I think he's going to have to be aggressive. And man, you know, over a 3-round fight, I just think I've doubted Frankie Edgar so many times in his career. I think he's going to get it done here. I think he's going to get it done by submission, not by submission, by decision. You know, he's just got to watch out because Ortega can end that fight at any time.
What about you, Drake? You hopping on that bandwagon too? You gonna go with the answer?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you guys to an extent. I just have a feeling though that Ortega's gonna pull this one off, but I don't think he's gonna be able to submit Frankie. I think he's gonna fish him with strikes. I got a weird feeling he's gonna pull something out late. It's gonna be the first time Frankie's getting finished, but yeah, man, that's a crazy fight. I love that fight. It's yeah, I agree with both you guys, but I got Ortega.
Kyle?
I got Edgar. I'm gonna go Edgar here. Now I've and it's funny that Nolan mentioned I have also been wrong about Frankie quite a bit. Been wrong about Ortega quite a bit. I didn't have him winning Cub Swanson. I don't think I had him winning against Moicano. I didn't have him beating Moicano. I had him beating Clay Guida, and I was regretting it for, you know, 2.5 rounds. Even I think more than 2.5 rounds. I think he literally
last 30 seconds
at like the end of the third. Like Clay Guida is like skating to the finish and just crack, just done. I think there's like a minute left. So I will like invariably be wrong about this. So I'm sure that Ortega is going to win. But yeah, I'm going Frankie, and it's just, you know, it's the what is it? Immovable force against the, or immovable object against the, what, you know what I mean? Unstoppable force. Something's got to give here, you know. Ortega wins by finishing, and Ortega wins by losing and being able to persevere and come back. Edgar is the exact opposite. He wins by getting gritty. He wins by not allowing you to win the rounds. He wins by literally not getting finished. So something's got to give here, and I just think it's going to be Ortega. I think he's not going to be used to this level. The adversity he's going to face here will be like nothing he's done up to this point. So that's my thought process.
Yeah, two things can happen. Frankie can go in there and do what he did to Cub Swanson, do what he did to Yair Rodriguez, just pound a hole in someone's face, right? Just pounding and pounding and pounding. But the X factor for Ortega is that he is great off his back, and he is great off scrambles, and that's what allowed him to win a lot of the fights, right? That he was losing for most of the rounds. But yes, Frankie does have great jiu-jitsu. Has he ever been finished by submission? I don't think so, right?
Frankie's
Never, right?
never been finished ever.
No.
Yeah, he's never been finished ever. So that's why it makes this matchup so exciting. Those, factors that come into play. But I do agree with Drake. I see Ortega somehow, some way knocking out Frankie Edgar in this fight. And I see knees coming
I
in.
agree.
Knees coming into the, into the equation. And it doesn't matter who wins, right? Because I hope whoever does win fights for the title. And I think that an Ortega versus Max Holloway fight is more exciting to me.
Agreed.
Than a Frankie Edgar versus Max Holloway fight.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, but what do you guys think? Which fight would be more exciting? Who wins? Like King, Frankie Edgar versus Max Holloway is an exciting matchup.
I'm more interested in in Brian Ortega.
I'm disagreeing with everybody. I'm coming for you all on this one, but I don't know, man. I think the Edgar versus Holloway matchup's interesting to me. Edgar I think brings a certain skill set that right now is not really. There's not a whole lot of guys at the top of that division that bring his skill set. I think the closest guy to him was Chad Mendes, and he's obviously on the shelf. So I don't know. Maybe just because it's been talked about so much, maybe I'm a little bit biased in that regard, where it's been supposed to happen twice, and I've thought about it a lot more than the Ortega fight. But I think both those fights are great matchups. The featherweight division, featherweight and lightweight are my opinion, the deepest and most fun divisions to watch. So I wouldn't complain either way. I think we have a great matchup this Saturday, and regardless of what happens, we have a great matchup coming up in a couple months with Holloway versus the winner.
Yeah, man, this is the best fight. Like overall, this is the best fight. Like this fight, if you had this fight and then you didn't even watch the Cyborg fight, I think you'd be satisfied with the night, to be honest with you. But I could be wrong, right? So now let's move on to the main event, which is Chris Cyborg, which is not even her real name. Like everybody calls her by Chris Cyborg, but that's not even her name, right? Her name is Christiane Justino. But whoever calls her Christiane Justino, have you ever heard anybody call her that?
No.
Never.
Shogun.
Yeah.
Rainbow Slice.
Crow Cop. I mean.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, Yana Kunitskaya, right?
Ooh,
I've seen a couple of her fights, and I would give her the only reason I would give her a little bit of a chance to win this fight is because she is training at Jackson Wink with Holly Holm, and this is like their second camp in a row preparing for Cyborg, and that gives her that 1% chance. But that's
I was like, you give her more of a chance because she's at Jackson Wink?
Well, they've been preparing together, right? That's the storyline coming into this fight. But she couldn't even beat Tanya Evinger. She had, if you watch the first fight between her and Tanya Evinger, which was a weird fight because the referee didn't know the rules.
Yeah, because she was stepping on her face or something stupid, right?
Yeah. And do you guys? I want to know. I give her 1% chance. What percent chance do you guys give her, and why would you give her even a percentage of a chance? We'll start with you, Kyle.
I would say that's probably pretty accurate. Has nothing to do with Jackson Wink. If anything, I give her a 1% chance, and then you find out she's at Jackson Wink, and you're like, I want to take that 1% away. But I'll give her the 1% just because I'm gonna get real creative here because it's MMA and anything can happen. I mean, honest to God, it's such a cop-out, but she has a chance because everybody has a chance to beat anybody. But outside of that, I mean, what in the world does she have to offer? She's not armbarring Cyborg. She's not going to out BJJ Cyborg. She's not going to out Striker. What does she do? Her only hope is that somehow she could get Cyborg to punch herself out over the course of 2 rounds, and she then wins the next 3 rounds because Cyborg's exhausted or something stupid. Like I'm just literally trying to think of like some weird, but like it's the only thing I could even think of is she eats 2 10-8 rounds in a row and Cyborg is just dead and she loses 3 straight to end it. That's it. That's all she's got. So good luck.
Drake, how about you, man? Like, I know you've been looking into this fight for a while. What do you think?
My percentage? What's my percentage? I'm gonna go 25%.
Hey, Seuss.
Yeah, I think that Yana is kind of like the more aggressive Holly, less predictable. How much that'll help her could be not at all, but I think it gives her a lot better a chance of landing something that could hurt Cyborg potentially. She's bigger than Holly, which plays some factor maybe. I mean, not bigger than Cyborg, but I compare Yana to Holly in this matchup a lot. And I think it'll look a lot like that fight, except with a finish for Cyborg, maybe like round 2. But I think that she has a better chance than Holly, or about the same, probably about the same. I think people are counting her out so much just because they don't know who she is. But yeah, saying she's going to win, not the best pick.
I would say if you took a more aggressive Holly Holm, really the only thing that would happen is the fight ends in the second round instead of going to a decision.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what you're looking at. Yeah.
Dr. King, you gonna go against us again? Come on, man.
No, I'm gonna be in the middle on this one. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get real mathematical right
10%?
now. I'm gonna go with 5%. That puts her at about 19-1 underdog, which is, I mean, my betting friends can correct me if I'm wrong on my math there, but puts her about a 19-1 underdog, which is about what she is in the books right now, which I think is fair. This is like Kyle said, this is MMA. We've seen, weird things happen, and it only takes one punch, one arm bar, one whatever. We see some crazy shit in this sport. It's the only sport where this type of stuff happens. You can be down 1,000,000 and come back and win in an instant. So never counting anybody out. I give her props for even stepping in there, but yeah, I'm going to give her a 5% chance.
She's not a featherweight. I mean, that's the big thing. It's another bantamweight moving up to fight her.
Had more fights at featherweight though. Most of her career has been there.
Now, is it most of her career?
Like nine of her 14 fights or something.
Okay. So that's most of her career.
And the CSAC, they actually told her to move up after her last fight.
Okay. I was going to say, because here's what I'd tell you, though, is if Cyborg cut to 135, literally she would die. She would literally die if she cut to 135. So anybody who even possesses the ability to cut to 135 is too small. At this point, like I'm small to be in there.
I met Cyborg when she came to Korea, and I stood next to her, shook her hand, and me personally, I'm like around 77 kilos, which is, I don't know, about 170 pounds or something like that. Okay. And she was bigger than me. That shows you something about how the size of Cyborg,
she walks around like
and she's all muscle and I'm a bag of bones. So, so King, if you think, what would you predict as like the finish and what round do you think?
I'm going to say Cyborg TKO round 1. Just going to go with the simple
quick one.
Pick. I don't know. I know we haven't seen that for a little while, but I feel like this is, I don't know. I don't feel like very good about the matchup.
Especially if she's aggressive. If she goes in there real aggressive, she's going to get knocked out real quick.
Yeah.
So you think so too, Kyle? First round knockout?
No, I think second. I think second round. But it depends how aggressive she is. The more aggressive she is, the less of a chance I'm going to give her. I mean, it's like the more aggressive she is, the more of the shit happens chance that she has, right? But you can't rely on that. So it's like, the more aggressive she is, realistically, the quicker the fight ends. I mean, really, that's how that should work.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the submission, finish.
Sure.
You guys are going with the knockout. I'm going to go with the submission, but tapping to strikes. That's what I see
Okay,
happening.
there you go. Okay, sure.
Snapping to strikes. That's what I'm gonna say.
I would count that as a TKO in my heart.
I think that would actually officially count as Cyborg's very first submission win, even if it was from strikes.
It would, absolutely.
It could happen. And, you know, if it finishes in the first and second round, that's every journalist's dream is to have a quick fight, because then you're just like, okay, it's over. You know, you don't want to have long 5-rounders when you're covering the event, right? So now, before we go, I just wanted to talk about one more thing. You know, I want to get your guys' viewpoints on Colby Covington's tweet that he put out on Mike Perry. I wanted to ask you guys about that, because that's something that is, to me, it's like it's trash talk, but then it's like, is it too far? Is it just on the internet? You know, like, it's not like they really know each other. In like, what's the situation? We're gonna start with you, Kyle. What do you think about that tweet? Because I know you're steaming.
It's not too far. It's not too far at all. And I'll tell you exactly why it's not too far. Because it wasn't his girlfriend. It was his corner man. That is who Colby Covington was tweeting at. He was not tweeting at Mike Perry's girlfriend. He was tweeting at Mike Perry's corner man, and he was saying your corner man doesn't know what they're doing.
But he said girlfriend in the tweet.
I understand that, because his girlfriend is one of his cornermen, which is stupid. So all he was doing, listen, he was very intentionally trying to be as rude and disgusting as possible. And he did it. And guess what? It worked again, and it'll keep working. Because I'm a big Colby Covington supporter throughout this entire process, just because I love it. I love how angry people are getting about it. So it fuels me. I feed off of that. So I've been a big supporter of Colby Covington. And when I first read the tweet, I went, what an asshole. And I went, like, you can't say that. Like, you can't do that. Like, that's off limits. I started to do it. And I was like, that's what Colby wants. His whole game plan, he wants 0 fans. He wants 0 fans. If he has 5 fans, he wants to figure out what would make those 5 fans hate him, and he's going to try to do that. I'm telling you, like, that is his mindset. He wants 0 fans, and he wants everyone to tune into the fight to try to watch him lose. And the more I thought about it, I went, but he wasn't tweeting. It wasn't some random. If he was doing that against, you know, Eddie Alvarez or Nate Diaz or something, right? And Nate Diaz's girlfriend or wife was in the crowd, and he said something about them, right? Just take the same exact tweet, but make it about Nate Diaz and Nate Diaz's girlfriend who's in the crowd. Then you have a point, right? Like, everybody has a point to be upset. But that's not the case. Mike Perry's girlfriend is in the corner, and she's screaming obnoxious, stupid, unhelpful things. And Mike wants her in the corner because – and Fred made a really good point on my show that him and I do every week, so I'm going to steal it from him. Mike Perry's too gangster for his own good. That's all it is. He's too gangster for his own good. He has that mindset of, like, you know, I'm not going to forget where I came from. You know, she was there through thick and thin, you know, blood's thicker than water, right? Like, he has that gangster mentality. And what he forgetting is that she was there through thick and thin when you were fighting nobodies in Island FC. She was there through thick and thin when you were doing smokers in the Bahamas, right? That's when she was, this isn't that. This isn't that. You're fighting legitimate people in the UFC, and she's taking up a corner spot from someone who could actually help you win a fight. He goes in after that 3rd round. He's completely gassed. He's dead to the goddamn world. He doesn't know what to do. Who's there to help him? Nobody's there to help him. It's why Sage is sucking. His dad's taking up a corner spot. Get the hell out, man. Let professional people come in and coach you and be there and support you in a way that you need it. If he feels better mentally having her in the corner, I get it. Clearly, it's not working.
King,
Sorry,
go ahead.
It's not working. It's knocking out Jake Ellenberger with a spinning elbow doesn't mean that that's working. Jake Ellenberger's 96 years old. Like, that doesn't mean that's working. So I don't know, man. I think he's believing his own hype a little too much.
King, do you think Colby Covington will be the first person that is shot by another fighter?
Dude, you're not
I don't
lying.
know about that. I mean, he's already got the boomerang thrown at him, so I don't know, if people are going to jump right to the gun. But, to build off of what Kyle was saying, I actually agree with Kyle. I think we're kind of in the minority here a little bit, but, I think that's just kind of Colby Covington's shtick. It's like shock humor. It's so, you watch, like, I think I tweeted this out. It's like, the Comedy Central roast where anything goes type of mentality
Sure.
where, that's his shtick. Like, he's going to say things to try to get people to get riled up. That's like his whole goal, and if you look at his history, he was a guy that was like a prospect, up and coming, kind of not, a guy that was very talented, very good wrestler, very underappreciated because of the skill set he brought. And when, people really started talking about him, there was, one fight where I think he kind of might have been the Max Griffin fight or something, took the mic, started screaming. People kind of called him corny, whatever. Next fight, did the same thing. Next fight, then the thing in Brazil happened. Then people started talking about him. Then the boomerang thing happened. Then people talked about him more. This thing, people are talking about him more. So he's made himself. I'm not going to say that the post-fight interviews and the tweets and everything have made him relevant, because I think he would be relevant anyway. But it's made him more relevant than he would be. You look at a guy like Kamaru Usman, a guy that is kind of in a similar situation. He's a guy that maybe isn't putting on the most exciting fights, or he has a lot of people that are saying that, and he's earned his spot to move up the rankings. But, he's kind of, who's talked about more? I think Colby Covington's talked about way more. So it's just, you guys got to realize that, it's part of his shtick. He didn't go after some guy that's, Damian Maia in that manner or something. He went after Mike Perry, who's a guy, I think, who's a big boy and can handle this type of trash talk. And give it back. So I was, I get why people are, kind of a little bit up in arms, but I kind of also think that's the whole point.
Drake, are people's buttholes too tight?
Yeah, not tight enough. No, no, I agree. I agree with both of Nolan and Kyle a lot. I mean, it's his gimmick, man. He is a gimmick. He's on Global Force Wrestling or whatever, for fuck's sake, with Bobby Lashley. I mean,
Yeah.
he's playing a character. I mean, sure, he might be a douche also, but he's obviously doing this on purpose, not just to be a dickhead. Even if it comes off that way, that's what he wants, like they were saying. And people are just overly sensitive nowadays. And Perry's not like fucking raging about it. I mean, he's like, yeah, I'll kick Colby's ass. I'll take his number 3 spot.
Yeah,
but he's not like.
I think he handled it great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Everyone else is more pissed off than Perry is.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
so it's just a bit over dramatic, and the people don't realize what Colby is yet, which I don't understand. So.
Yeah, you got, like, you guys all said, that's him. That's who he is now. He's been developing this character, and some people saw it coming. Some people didn't. They didn't see it coming. They just started watching it now, right? But if you've been following Colby Covington, you know that this is something that he has planned. Everything that he does is planned. Everything that he tweets, everything that he writes, every interview that he does, he already knows the answers to your questions because he knows what you're going to ask. He has it all written out. He has like a blog that he does nobody knows about, and he's writing stuff in there, a diary, and he's got responses to everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be Derek Brunson. It could be Jon Jones. It does not matter. The guy knows what he's doing. And and he keeps himself relevant, even though that's the big thing is he doesn't even have a fight coming up. He doesn't have a fight coming. Every other fighter that doesn't have a fight coming up, you lose focus on them. They get lost in the sauce, and then all of a sudden you're not talking about them. And what he does best is keep people talking about him, and he walks the line perfectly. Like, remember when the UFC fined or suspended, I forgot which fighter for writing certain tweets.
Miguel Torres.
Yeah, exactly. Those people, right? They're not doing that to Colby Covington because he walks the line. He knows what he can say, how far he can go. And, that's it, man. Like, I guess, to me, you got to respect the game. You got to respect the game. That's all you got to say, right? He's
the player at the game.
Exactly. And Mike Perry's a gangster, but Colby Covington's a gangster in his own right too. You know, the way he does his, where he does his, what he does. So now, all right, man. Thanks for your guys' opinions. Thanks for your guys' time. MMA Today for tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have you guys on again. Yeah, man. Thanks.